Hey guys, welcome to today's video. In this video I'm going to show you how to make mountains kind of like this by hand. Now this is for the person who doesn't really like markers because it doesn't give you that personal touch. But this is a long process if you don't use markers, but for the most part I'm going to do it by hand. I'm going to use some markers, of course, because I doubt anybody wants to watch me put every block individually. But first, what you want to do is you want to pretty much outline the bottom lip of your mountain. What that is it's like the shape. So you'd pretty much like make your squiggly line kind of randomly shaped. But I'm actually going to use markers with the line tool to kind of randomize it a little bit better and save some time. And I'm using limestone for this because that's going to be near the bottom. Dacite, basalt, any darker blocks would look a little better because that's where the sun doesn't hit and it doesn't bake the rock, so it won't be lighter. Then what you're going to do is go around and kind of round out the sharp edges if you don't want sharp edges. Once you have a satisfied line, we're going to do the same thing, but instead of sideways we're going to go vertical. So you just pick a spot and you kind of make your slope this way. I'm going to do mine pretty steep, so it's going to be kind of rows of 4s and 3s on height, and then maybe a couple 1s, but then go right back to the big ones. Maybe go out a little bit, but not too much, depending on if you want like a cliff that's overhanging, or it's pretty much whatever you think looks good. And then once you get near the top, you're going to switch your rocks. So maybe some sandstone, basalt, clay, and just replace a few rows of them to give it kind of like a striped look. Different layers. Then maybe I'll switch it. I thought, basalt looked invisible on my HUD. Then maybe just a few layers. Maybe 2 there. Few more, and then just randomly put single line stripes of it. And you're going to pretty much do that whole section of what you did throughout the whole thing. The next layer you would want to do is start right next to it and maybe change it up a little bit. Maybe this line's a little bit higher, and then maybe this one goes back one more. The more random you do it, the better, but try to keep it kind of the same or close to from what you had in the layer right next to it, because otherwise if you have one that like bows out here and the next one is in, you've got this big flat wall that kind of doesn't look very good. And go ahead and keep the terrain the same, or like the different rocks the same level. Like clay would go where the clay is, stuff like that. And then you could randomize it a little bit, like we're doing with the edges, making them go out one. By that I mean maybe pull a sandstone up. But you don't want to have it sandstone here and then sandstone on the next row goes all the way up, because that would just look weird. Maybe randomize it a little bit, but not too much. And you're going to repeat that until you have a whole wall. After you have that, your whole wall set out. You could even do it one color and then just use markers to replace a whole row from like limestone to your next block. But after you do that, you want to grab some dirt and some grass and kind of just cover up the tops of each of them. You maybe put some dirt, some grass. You don't want to have it on the bottoms if it's grass, but if it's dirt, maybe a little bit, because grass wouldn't grow underneath there because the sun wouldn't reach it. Maybe the top row is going to be dirt with grass on it. And you pretty much just kind of go over it. Of course, you wouldn't put the grass and dirt like I'm doing right now. You would wait until you have the whole wall, but again, I don't think people would want to see me do that. Then after you've got that, maybe replace some of the blocks with bone. If you want to have some skeletons in there. Like I've got these giant cow skeletons right here that are in the mountain, which would lead people to believe, maybe they fell down and died. Who knows? Maybe throw some iron, some salt, copper, different kinds of rocks. Of course, the more you put, the better, the more natural it will look. but you don't want to put like too many colorful blocks. Like you don't want to throw a bunch of opal in there. Maybe 1 or 2 blocks, but try to keep them all the same kind of tone. You know, stone, gray, brown, stuff like that. And once you have all of your row looking like this one, then you'll start having like a cliff that kind of adds up to be this. And then you would chip away some of your wall, fill it with some black to make it look like, okay, there's a vein of rock here. Maybe some white. Maybe add a waterfall down it, and then throw some trees that kind of have a curve to them. Because that would make it look like, okay, they're growing off of the side, and then they start to go up a little bit because they get stronger. And then add extra details. You know, again, I threw the cow skeleton for added look. I threw some extra rocks around here to make it look like maybe there was a rock slide at one point in the little rebels there. Replace some of the ground with different rocks too, so it looks like, okay, they settled in the ground a little bit. And that's for the most part the steps on how to make a mountain by hand. This of course would be like a canyon type, and I added a little bit of extra height to the grass area, changed a few of the blocks around. Of course you can easily see that there's a pattern because I was lazy and started copying and pasting it, but you could easily highlight the whole section and replace a random amount of the grass with whatever you wanted.